a brighter way of life.
Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. A highly anticipated summit today. President Donald Trump and Russian Vladimir Putin will meet in Anchorage, Alaska in just an hour. Their first meeting in 6 years. What's at stake and what we've learned so far. Hours before the summit, international leaders are commenting on the meeting between President Donald Trump and Russia's Vladimir Putin, what they're saying about today's talks. An appeals court has cleared the way for the Trump administration to resume gutting the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. What happens next to the government agency? Washington, D.C.'s Attorney General sues over President Trump's federal takeover of the district. He claims the president has exceeded his authority. We bring you the details about the lawsuit. The standoff in Texas continues. Democrats still absent. Texas lawmakers have adjourned their first special session. The governor immediately called another one, saying their work isn't done. Senators are calling for an investigation into Meta after a news report revealed its chatbot is able to have inappropriate conversations with children.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. Happy Friday, everyone. President Donald Trump is on his way to Alaska for a meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. And aboard Air Force One, he spoke with reporters. Let's listen.
What will make a success of this summit today?
I can't tell you that. I don't know. There's nothing set in stone. I want certain things. I want to see a ceasefire. This is not to do with Europe. Europe's not telling me what to do. But they're going to be involved in the process, obviously, as well as Zelensky. But I want to see a ceasefire rapidly. I don't know if it's going to be today, but I'm not going to be happy if it's not today. Everyone said it can't be today, but I'm just saying I want the killing to stop. I'm in this to stop the killing. You know, we're not putting up any money. We're making money. They're buying our weapons, and we're sending them to NATO, and NATO's sending us big, beautiful checks. But that I don't care about that. I care about, it was a big factor when Biden spent $350 billion and got nothing. But what I do care about is they lost last week, 7,011 people were lost, almost all soldiers. 36 people in a town which got hit by a missile. But over 7,000 soldiers. It's crazy.
Could you describe a little bit, Mr. President, because I know you've had a lot of phone calls with President Putin. What's the difference in a face-to-face, in-person meeting?
Look, he's a smart guy, been doing it for a long time, but so have I. Been doing it for a long time. And here we are with President. That was much more difficult than what I'm doing today, believe me. So, we get along. There's a good respect level on both sides. And I think, something's going to come of it. I noticed he's bringing a lot of business people from Russia. And that's good. I like that because they want to do business, but they're not doing business until we get the war settled.
Are you going to talk about business?
We have the hottest country on earth. We have the hottest economy on earth. We have the hottest country. We just set a new stock market record again. We have hundreds of billions of dollars flowing in from tariffs. We're the hottest. We were a dead country, dead like doornails, a dead country. 1 year ago, we were dead as a doornail, and now we have the hottest country. And he wants a piece of that because his country is not hot economically. In fact, it's the opposite. And China's not doing well economically, but look, I want everybody to do well. The war's got to stop and the killing's got to stop.
Mr. President, what do you stop? Thank you for coming back to take questions. We saw that Russia continued its violence into Ukraine last night, launching even more drones. What did you make of that?
I think they're trying to negotiate. He's trying to set a stage. I mean, in his mind, that helps him make a better deal. It actually hurts him. But in his mind, that helps him make a better deal if they can continue the killing. Maybe it's a part of the world. Maybe it's just his fabric, his genes, his genetics. But he thinks that makes him, gives him strength in negotiating. I think it hurts him, but I'll be talking to him about it later.
It's on the table for discussions today, Mr. President. Are the territorial swaps on the table? Will you be discussing that?
They'll be discussed, but I've got to let Ukraine make that decision. And I think they'll make a proper decision. But I'm not here to negotiate for Ukraine. I'm here to get them at a table. And I think you have two sides. Look, Vladimir Putin wanted to take all of Ukraine. If I wasn't president, he would right now be taking all of Ukraine. But he's not going to do it.
Mr. President, what did you mean?
Just one thing. What about the possibility of the United States providing security guarantees to Ukraine?
Maybe. Along with Europe and other countries. Not in the form of NATO, because that's not going to, there are certain things that aren't going to happen. But yeah, along with Europe, there's possibility of that.
Mr. President,
The number of business people that President Putin is bringing along, is that something that you want to discuss with President Putin at this meeting?
If we make progress, I would discuss it, because that's one of the things that they would like. They'd like to get a piece of what I built in terms of the economy. Just so you know, we were a dead country with our economy. He wouldn't be interested. He wouldn't have been interested a year ago with the Biden economy. But he is interested in the Trump economy, because wait till you see when those factories start opening up. We have hundreds of factories all over the country, and that includes auto factories, AI factories, and every other. They're all coming in because they want to beat the tariffs. Because if they open here, they don't have to pay tariffs. If they don't open here, they have to pay, in some cases, 200%, 300%. I haven't even set some of the tariffs yet. I'll be setting tariffs next week and the week after on steel and on, I would say, chips.
Mr. President.
Chips and semiconductors we'll be setting sometime next week after.
You're looking at what rate?
I'm going to have a rate that is going to be lower at the beginning. Then that gives them a chance to come in and build. And very high after a certain period of time. And if they don't build here, they have to pay a very high tariff, which doesn't work, so they'll come and build.
Mr. President, hi. You had said earlier...
I didn't see you over there. Isn't he a general?
He's
nice.
He's helping me out.
He's a very nice, he's one of the few nice ones, actually.
You had said earlier this week that Putin would face severe consequences if you get the sense from him that he's not interested. What do you mean by that?
Economically severe. Yes, it will be very severe. I'm not doing this for my health, okay? I don't need it. I'd like to focus on our country, but I'm doing this to save a lot of lives. Yeah, very severe. Thank you very much, everybody.
International leaders are commenting on today's summit between President Trump and Russia's Vladimir Putin. Ukraine says it is, quote, counting on America. The UK, meanwhile, is getting ready to put boots on the ground in Ukraine. NTD's international correspondent, Arian Pazdar, has more.
As President Trump and Russia's Vladimir Putin are heading to Alaska, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky comments on the summit. Zelensky says this meeting should open up a real path toward a just peace and a substantive discussion between leaders in a trilateral format, adding, "We are counting on America." Zelensky has been in close contact with European allies throughout this week, trying to lay the tracks for the Alaska summit. The Ukrainian president is reportedly prepared to meet with French President Emmanuel Macron once Friday's meeting in Alaska is finished. Meanwhile, the defense secretary of the UK says Britain is ready to put boots on the ground in Ukraine. That's in case a ceasefire between Kiev and Moscow is agreed to. Many say Ukraine needs some type of security guarantee in case of a ceasefire to make sure Russia doesn't attack again. Arian Pazdar, NTD News.
And just hours before meeting President Trump in Alaska, Russian President Vladimir Putin laid flowers at a memorial commemorating U.S.-Soviet cooperation during World War II. Putin made a stopover in the far eastern Russian city of Magadan on his way to Alaska. The monument Putin visited is dedicated to the heroes of Alsib. The sculpture shows a handshake of a Soviet and an American pilot. Alsib is a Soviet part of the Alaskan Siberian Air Road. This route was launched in 1942 to deliver American fighter planes to the Soviet Union. This was part of their joint effort to fight Nazi Germany during World War II. Putin departed for Alaska after leaving the flowers at the monument. Residents in Anchorage, Alaska shared their thoughts ahead of this crucial talk, with the possibility to end the long and bloody conflict on the line. Here's more.
Well, I want to believe that we will have some positive outcomes because of this meeting. But it's kind of the situation right now. It's like in a stop. It's like 2 steps forward, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
This is about Ukraine. It's not about America. And it's not about Russia, really, except that Russia invaded Ukraine, and they need to leave. There's nothing to negotiate. I mean, what should Zelensky do in return?
I don't really have much hope for the summit. It would be nice to think that Putin would recognize that he's not going to win, but my understanding is that he would lose his grasp on power if he stops the war.
Are we really going to make any progress with Putin, who hasn't even bothered to show up for so many other instances?
Putin and Trump meeting together, I hope that they can accomplish something. I'm kind of a little pessimistic about it, but I want to support it and hope that they can stop this, you know, what they're doing to the Ukrainian people and the Russian people, for that matter.
I just want to hope, and they say the hope dies last, so that there will be some fruitful results from this meeting, from this summit.
Joining us now to discuss Trump's meeting with Putin today is Andrei Illarionov, Senior Policy Advisor to Putin from 2000 to 2005 and Senior Analyst for Russian and European Affairs at the Center for Security Policy. So first of all, thank you for your time today, Andrei. What do you think about this meeting? How consequential do you expect it to be? And Trump has described today's talks as a feel-out or a listening exercise. What do you think?
Thank you for inviting me. Definitely, this is coming meeting or even summit between Putin and Trump is triumph for Putin, undoubtedly. This is a great victory for Putin, who wanted to meet Trump for all last 7 months during Trump presidency. Same, he wanted to have those meetings with Biden as well. And for him, this is a very important part of his policy of public recognition, of legitimization of his aggression against Ukraine, against Europe, and against the United States. So the President Trump gives him unique opportunity to legitimize and to recognize a legitimacy of Putin's aggression against Ukraine, Europe, United States, and personally against Mr. Trump, against whom Mr. Putin was waging very aggressive campaign during year 2024, before and later. So that is why this is a red carpet invitation and red carpet meeting by President Trump of Mr. Putin is unbelievable triumph, victory in breakthrough of diplomatic isolation, political isolation of military criminal and international terrorist who is Mr. Putin. Welcoming his on the American soil is giving to him legitimization of his crimes against Ukrainians, crimes against Europeans, crimes against Americans. So this is the best achievement of Putin's long-term policy of legitimization of his crimes and aggression against the rest of the world.
So do you think then President Trump is aware of what you're describing as a victory for Putin, or how he's feeling? Do you think President Trump is aware of the situation that you describe?
The whole world is aware of this situation. The whole world for 3.5 years is watching with disdain this criminal aggression against Ukrainians, killing of thousands of people every week, and Mr. Trump is mentioning this fact every week. He promised to stop this war 53 times during 24 hours. He promised it many, many times. He promised when he became president since January 20th, at least 4 times to give Putin 2 weeks to stop this war. Each time, the previous 24 hours, that's lock time, or these 2 weeks, and after that, 50 days ultimatum, after that 10 or 12 days ultimatum, after that August 8th ultimatum. All of these promises or conditions or ultimatums that Mr. Trump talked about, all of them were violated by Mr. Trump himself. So Putin continued his attack against Ukraine and even accelerated his attacks. These 7 months of year 2025, this is the worst period during the Russian-Ukrainian war. More people have been killed per day or per month during these 7 months than any other period during this war. More people on the front and more civilians have been killed, more property have been destroyed, everything that Mr. Trump was talking all this time. So he is very much aware, and you just have shown the First Lady. According to Mr. Trump, First Lady talked to him many times that she is shocked by the aggressive attacks of Putin against Ukraine. Nevertheless, all this continues without any step. We need to underscore that Mr. Trump did not make any step over the last 7 months in his administration against Mr. Putin. He was talking a lot, he promised a lot, he did nothing. And as a result of that, he emboldened Putin, he invigorated Putin, he made Putin much more aggressive than he was before Mr. Trump arrived to the White House.
Okay, so the United States has put sanctions on Russia and has threatened secondary sanctions as well. What else is left on the table to convince Putin to end this war? What tools are left?
All those threats turn out to be hollow. They're absolutely empty. There is no single new sanction that have been introduced by Mr. Trump over the last 7 months. We have heard all these secondary sanctions against China, against India. None of them have been introduced. None of them have been implemented. But what is really even more important, that this is a war with weapons. This is war with military. The war with weapons, with military, with tanks, with drones, with missiles, cannot be fought with sanctions. This war is a military operation. This is a military warfare. Military warfare can trusted and could be fought against only with military resources. This is a very simple equation. And just to stop Putin's aggression against Ukraine, against Europe, and against the United States, it is necessary to have a military response. Mr. Trump and Trump's administration never thought as a real possibility to confront Mr. Putin with military response. Even not in the way of the boots on the ground, but in much more serious approach like just deployment of US troops on the Ukrainian territory, not on the front line, but let's say in the West Ukraine, or at some distance from the front line, or providing Ukraine and NATO allies with patrols from the US Air Force or US Navy, US force in the Ukrainian air, or US Navy in the Black Sea, or providing necessary military equipment and military munition necessary to conduct successful military operation for Ukrainian forces. The current administration did not provide single new additional bullet for Ukrainian armed forces compared to what has been provided and promised by Biden administration. Once again, $0, 0 cents, 0 bullets, 0 shells, 0 of everything. So with such an approach, Mr. Putin understands very well that he has nothing to fear from Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump's turned out to be the best possible partner for Mr. Putin to try to threaten the Western world, including, first of all, the United States, European countries, Ukraine, and the rest of the world, including Taiwan and other places around the world, with military force that Mr. Putin and his friend in China and some other places, North Korea, are ready to use to get their goals.
Okay, Andre, one last question. How sustainable is Russia's military campaign in its war against Ukraine? Because we have Western countries helping Ukraine, like the United States sending weapons to NATO, which is giving it to Ukraine, and other European countries as well helping Ukraine. So in the face of that, do you think Russia's military is sustainable in this war?
Let me quote General Secretary of NATO, Mark Rutte, who not once but several times over the last several months pronounced that today Russian economy produces 4 times more military equipment than all NATO combined. We know that Russians are using 3, 4, 5 times more shells on the front than Ukrainians. Over the last 3.5 years of full-scale war, United States provided Ukraine with 3.5 million artillery shells, 155 caliber and higher. Over less than 2 years, North Korea provided Russia with more than 6 million artillery shells, 152 millimeters caliber and higher. So this North Korea was able to provide to Russia more artillery shells, 3, 4 times more per unit of time, let's say per year or per month, than the United States, together with NATO, or all countries NATO, for Ukraine. We need to face reality, very stark reality, very unpleasant reality. The military potential of the alliance of aggressor, including Russia, North Korea, Iran, appears to be larger than combined military potential of all NATO countries, including the United States. This is stark reality that we need to face, and we need to understand what must be done just to confront aggressors, not only in Ukraine, but around the whole world, and what kind of risks this disbalance in military potentials creates for the not only Ukraine, but for the whole world and for the Western countries, including the United States.
Well, okay, Andre, we're out of time today. It's been a good discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We'll continue to follow the historic Trump-Putin summit in Anchorage, Alaska. Will President Trump's peace push end the Russia-Ukraine war? That is the question. Stay with NTD for updates and expert analysis on the ceasefire talks and their global impact. Coming up after the break, downsizing at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau can resume. An appeals court has cleared the Trump administration to proceed with firings. Don't go away.
What if kids in America didn't have to go to bed hungry tonight? What if our moms, dads, and grandparents could put healthy food on the table every day to help us grow strong? What if all of our friends and neighbors had fresh food too, and there was no hunger at all in America? And what if there was a way today for you to help? Call now or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month, just 63 cents a day. So many of us don't have enough food to eat, but your monthly gift means families across the country and in your community can fill plates with food. Kids can get healthy meals year-round, even when school is out, and our neighbors can have fresh food. Food that moms, dads, entire families need to thrive. But right now, more people are facing hunger. Feeding America works from coast to coast with partner food banks, food pantries, and meal programs. It takes all of us to make that happen. Will you help too? Please call the number on your screen or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org and give just $19 a month, and we'll send you this free canvas grocery bag. It's our way of saying thank you for helping to end hunger for our neighbors. Because no kid, no mom or dad, nobody should go hungry in America. Nobody. So what if today was the day you could help nourish futures for our friends, our families, for all of us? Ending hunger is possible. What if we end it together? Call or give online today at helpfeedingamerica.org, and your gift can be doubled. Thank you.
Whispered across generations, a hidden secret unveils the essence of longevity and vitality, a timeless legend regarding energy and wonder. Rooted in ancient health wisdom, we proudly introduce Pure Tang Black Ginseng, a 100% natural, organic energy drink made from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng. It takes 2,260 days and nights from seed to growth, undergoing a meticulous 9-step process of steaming and drying. Black ginseng reaches its full potency, enriched with ginsenoside RG3 and enhanced absorption efficiency. No sugar, no caffeine, no artificial ingredients. Experience the pure natural power of Pure Tang Black Ginseng. Nourish your body, strengthen your immunity, and boost your energy. To order Pure Tang Black Ginseng, please visit puretang.com.
Welcome back. Joining us now to discuss the Trump-Putin summit is retired Lieutenant Colonel Darren Gobb, a former Black Hawk helicopter pilot, battalion commander, and geopolitical strategist. So first of all, thank you for coming on the show, Colonel. Your initial thoughts on this. What's riding on this meeting? What's at stake?
Yeah, I think what's ultimately at stake in this first one is the discussion about those key red line items that are that have been holding up this process for a while, such as NATO membership, who owns what land, potential economic ties, and things like that. I don't expect there to be an agreement coming out of this meeting. I think this is just the first of potentially a series, maybe not very many in the series, but some. And so there are only certain things that only principals can discuss. Being presidents and prime ministers can discuss certain things like NATO membership or not, and any post ceasefire security guarantees and things like that. This will also include a potential message that would get sent to Volodymyr Zelensky on what Putin's, I guess, what his outlook is, what he's anticipating, and what he expects. And we can get a better idea of whether or not those two will be able to actually come to an agreement based on any of those possible conditions and key items. So that's what I expect to come out of this first one. And again, it is just what I see as the first one.
And as you can see, Colonel, beside you, the footage is showing that Air Force One has landed in Alaska, and President Trump is about to step out of the plane. What do you make of continued Russian military attacks, actually, on Ukraine, leading up to the meeting today?
I'm not surprised at all. History of warfare is that these conflicts will always continue, for the most part, until a document is signed. A peace treaty of some sort is actually signed. Most conflicts throughout history where peace treaties have taken effect have engaged in warfare all the way up until that point. And using America's Civil War for an example, in fact, after the surrender at Appomattox by Robert E. Lee, that war actually continued for another couple months. So this is not unusual at all. Both sides will seek to continue to attack each other, try to seek some sort of advantage in the process in anticipation of possible ceasefire. But if there is no actual ceasefire, then they're going to continue operations as it is right now.
Do you feel optimistic for the results of this meeting? Does Ukraine's current standing in the war, militarily speaking, does that also have an impact on overall peace negotiations?
It should. I hope so, because if Zelensky recognizes the military reality on the ground, he knows that he's not in a position to be able to take back the ground that Russia's already taking. he can't enforce any desires to bring back the Crimean Peninsula, for example. So if he doesn't put out there the conditions that are just non-starters, or if he stands on those conditions and never moves during the negotiating process, what he's going to do is actually lose more potentially than he already has. So that's probably the key, is him recognizing the limitations of what he can do now. And it'll be the next question will be, will Putin thread the needle between gaining more strategic advantage on the ground in the war, while also knowing the limitations of his own economy and its ability to sustain continued conflict for an unknown period of time at this point.
Okay, I was just going to ask you about that. How sustainable do you think is Russia's military campaign and this war on Ukraine?
It's getting harder the longer it goes on, and that's nothing unusual. But Russia's economy is suffering because of this lack of ability to really export freely its energy, because that's its chief export and what keeps them going. Now, tied to that also, that their allies, like specifically China, have an economy that is under duress as well, and is rapidly shrinking. Now you've got two allies that are both under economic challenges. They're both going to potentially go to their own corners and try to see how they can individually survive as nations with what's going on. So I think that's the needle that Putin is threading, is how much longer can he do this and be able to sustain his economy without them going on to something else. So this is why the sanctions could be very important, or the threat of sanctions on Russia's energy sector could be effective if Trump leverages them correctly.
So if you're saying that this is getting harder, overall, by your assessment, then how close are we to a peace deal or a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine?
I think right now you've probably got the greatest chance you're going to get. And as long as these dialogues remain open, even on the short term, that you've increased the odds significantly. If you walk away from these talks without a peace deal in the next, say, 30 days or less, I fear that you're going to see one of those kind of wars that just continues on until one of the nations collapses.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. But right now, what are some of the key things that Russia and Ukraine want, and where do you think the middle ground is?
Well, starting with Ukraine, Ukraine does not want to cede Russia any kind of land. Ukraine does want to have some sort of path forward into NATO and the European Union. They are going to want some sort of security guarantees for the people of Ukraine, because let's face it, their military has been severely degraded. Now, on the other side, Russia is going to want basically the opposite. They're not going to want NATO peacekeepers or peace enforcers along any border or anywhere in Ukraine. They're not going to want a path forward for Ukraine entering into NATO. The EU might be a little bit different, because that's an economic tie. And Russia has invested so much blood and treasure in this conflict that they're not going to walk away without having probably quite a few concessions on who owns the land that they're already sitting on now, to include Crimea. Watch those things bubble to the top and stay there if they aren't already.
So what do you think Russia's priorities are going into this meeting? Because the chair of Ukraine's paramilitary Foreign Affairs Committee says Putin is using negotiations with Trump with only one purpose, and that's to avoid serious sanctions. What is your analysis?
Well, that's certainly one of the possibilities. The other thing about continued negotiations is that Putin knows he can do it now, because he's achieved largely most of the strategic objectives that he wanted with regards to specifically reoccupying primarily Russian-speaking lands in eastern Ukraine, while solidifying his hold on the Crimean Peninsula. So sometimes negotiations, although with an honest goal of trying to achieve a ceasefire and a peace in the future, are also a means to kind of make it drag out so he can continue to solidify and consolidate the gains that he's already made. Everything else, things like, maybe deterring economic sanctions on himself directly and on those second level countries like India, certainly would play into this.
Now, Ukrainian officials have said that they want to end the war in a way that does not reward Russia and doesn't give the Russian military future opportunities to seize more territory from Kyiv. Is this possible in your assessment?
Well, anything's possible, yes. However, right now, unfortunately for Ukraine, they're not really able to dictate very many terms to Russia because Ukraine is started out behind in this war 5-1. They fought a valiant effort against a military that is vastly superior in numbers, and they risk losing a whole lot more in the process if they continue the war. So that's kind of how they're going to have to look at it: is do they risk more by continuing rather than stopping now? I understand the desire not to reward Russian aggression against Ukraine, but in the end, we have to come down to what is the military and economic reality of these nations and on the ground with regards to the front lines and their capabilities. And in that point, Ukraine is clearly behind and stands the most to lose.
Okay, Colonel, one last question as we're waiting for President Trump to come out of Air Force One right now. If the meeting is successful, or if it fails, which is a real possibility here, what are the next steps?
Well, in one scenario, you could see the United States walk away from the negotiations and just leave the countries on their own and say, you know what, if you guys don't want to end this fight, we do not have to necessarily be involved either. Make this almost a pure European problem with our NATO allies and even those in Europe who are not necessarily members of NATO. Because if you got two people who just want to keep fighting no matter what you bring to the table, at some point you have to walk away. Now, if the talks do fail entirely, in that regards, there's always a graded scale of what could happen. There could be an attempt to keep going, and I don't see Trump quitting. I really don't. But I think we're going to have to accept at some point that if they don't want to stop now, they may never want to stop until someone is just outright defeated.
Well, we'll find out soon how the meeting goes. Thank you very much for your time, Colonel.
Thanks, son.
We'll continue to follow the historic Trump-Putin summit in Anchorage, Alaska. The question is, will President Trump's peace push end the Russia-Ukraine war? Stay with us for updates and expert analysis on the ceasefire talks and their global impact. Coming up after the break, downsizing at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau can resume. An appeals court has cleared the Trump administration to proceed with firings. Don't go away.
I am so glad you ladies are here. You each have your own rooms. Thank you. Get settled in. I'll call you for dinner. Adopting teen sisters, it's a lot. Girls, you're gonna be late. You want breakfast? No thanks, we're good. They're always in their own world. What'd you get there? Twice the work. Twice the surprises. Just try it. But if you think of it that way, they're also twice as fulfilling. I think you should ask her yourself.
Is it okay to call you Mom?
Of course you can.
During high school, I hung with the wrong crowd and I never graduated.
I helped Santiago in many different ways, like all fathers do, because he always wanted to go to college.
I felt a little embarrassed to come back to school, but eventually, once I came here, I knew that it's for a bigger goal.
He was very dedicated, hardworking. He connected with his teachers. He connected with other students. That was one of the key reasons why he was able to keep forging ahead.
It was amazing to see him graduate. This was one thing that meant so much to him, and of course, it meant so much to us too.
With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed. That support is everything.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Being a cowboy, I don't know anything different from when I was 3 or 4 years old. I did tough things. I thought everybody needed to do tough things, and if you didn't, I didn't have time for it. I had a very successful career at a very young age, and life was fast. I was preparing physically. I wasn't doing anything mentally on the inside. And then I got hurt. I wanted to be better as a person, and I really dug into mental health. I start my day with 20-minute workouts. I live life 8 seconds at a time. Horses are so therapeutic. They know what you're feeling. When you're nervous, they're nervous. He won't say it back, but we're pals. I take a lot of responsibility in taking care of my kids, my family, being there for them. You're gonna have tough days. Everybody does. Find a place to stop and just breathe. Love your mind.
A federal appeals court has cleared the Trump administration to resume mass firings at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. But the court said the decision does not take effect immediately. It wants to allow lawyers for CFPB workers and pro-consumer organizations time to seek reconsideration. Shortly after taking office, President Trump replaced the agency's director and planned to cut more than 80% of the agency's workforce. A lower court had temporarily blocked downsizing at the bureau. In a split decision, the appeals court found that a lower court lacked jurisdiction for this. The appeals court also said some functions of the CFPB, like dealing with consumer complaints, cannot be shut down. President Trump said on Air Force One this morning that he would announce tariffs on imports of steel and semiconductors. That will happen in the coming weeks. He said the rates would be lower at the start to allow companies to build up domestic manufacturing in the U.S. and then rise sharply later. This follows a pattern he has also outlined for tariffs on pharmaceuticals. Trump said he felt confident that companies would opt to manufacture in the United States rather than face high tariffs.
We have hundreds of factories all over the country, and that includes auto factories, AI factories, and every other. They're all coming in because they want to beat the tariffs. Because if they open here, they don't have to pay tariffs. If they don't open here, they have to pay, in some cases, 200%, 300%. I haven't even set some of the tariffs yet. I'll be setting tariffs next week and the week after on steel and on, I would say, chips. Chips and semiconductors we'll be setting sometime next week, week after.
What rate?
I'm going to have a rate that is going to be lower at the beginning. Then that gives them a chance to come in and build. And very high after a certain period of time. And if they don't build here, they have to pay a very high tariff, which doesn't work, so they'll come and build.
Illegal immigration and crime are in the spotlight in Washington, D.C. Attorney General Pam Bondi provided key updates on policy and leadership changes. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more, including recent Justice Department actions on sanctuary cities.
Let me be crystal clear.
Attorney General Pam Bondi vowed that D.C. will not remain a sanctuary city, shielding what she called criminal illegal immigrants, speaking on Fox News.
They're trying to protect criminal aliens. And what's going to happen if we keep this up? Criminals are going to flee to D.C., and we're not going to let that happen.
Bondi also criticized what she called an extremely divisive city council, juveniles running rampant, no cash bail, and what she described as liberal judges. On Thursday, she sent demand letters to states, counties, and cities deemed sanctuary jurisdictions, warning that those limiting cooperation with federal immigration enforcement could face legal action.
If they have information of an illegal alien living in D.C., they must give us that information.
Bondi says the Fed takeover of D.C. police is already bearing fruit.
Citizens are coming out of their homes, and they're going up to these law enforcement officers, and they're thanking them for keeping them safe and making the streets safe again. An elderly woman walks up to law enforcement and thanks them so she can go to the market again.
Bondi also addressed an incident where a DOJ employee was charged with felony assault after hitting a federal agent with his Subway sandwich.
That guy worked for the Department of Justice. Unbelievable. He came into our office every day, walked by law enforcement officers, worked in the criminal division. That's the deep state that we have been up against.
The man was later fired from the Department of Justice.
If you touch a law enforcement officer, if you spit on a law enforcement officer, if you batter a law enforcement officer, we are coming after you.
Trump's federal takeover has also brought close cooperation between D.C. police and ICE. Police Chief Pamela Smith issued a memo allowing officers to notify ICE about suspects, even during traffic stops, and assist in transporting detainees. But the memo still prohibited most direct participation in federal immigration enforcement. Bondi has since rescinded D.C. sanctuary policies, removing limits on immigration status checks, lifting bans on arrests for immigration warrants, and allowing full information sharing with federal authorities. She also named DEA head Terry Cole as Washington's emergency police commissioner, giving him the powers of the police chief during the public safety emergency. And finally, the Justice Department released a list of 35 sanctuary jurisdictions, 13 states, 18 cities, and 4 counties. Those who change their policies can be removed. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Meanwhile, D.C.'s Attorney General is suing over the federal takeover of the nation's capital. He says the Trump administration is exceeding its authority. District of Columbia Attorney General Brian Schwab asked a judge for an emergency restraining order. He said the federal takeover is illegal and threatens to, quote, wreak operational havoc. The lawsuit came just hours after Attorney General Pam Bondi transferred emergency control of the police department to DEA head Terry Cole. The 1973 Home Rule Act granted Washington, D.C. local control over the Capitol. Section 740 of the act also gives the president the emergency authority to federalize the Metropolitan Police Department for 30 days. Texas state lawmakers this morning adjourned their first special session without successfully approving a new map that will give Republicans a chance to flip blue seats in Congress. Democrats fled the state to delay the vote. The House Speaker told lawmakers their work isn't done. Take a listen.
We are about to receive a motion to sine die. Do not go very far, as I believe our governor will be calling us back for another special session very, very soon.
Governor Abbott, just before noon, called the second special session to begin immediately. He wrote, quote, there is critical work that is left undone. Texas will not back down from this fight. The agenda remains the same, bills to address the recent flooding and new congressional maps. He said he would call the sessions back-to-back until Democrats return and allow the vote. They are facing fees of up to $500 each day they are absent, and the governor said they would be arrested once they return to Texas. Attorneys told the Texas Democrats to return to strengthen their legal case against the new map. The two-week standoff could come to an end today. State House Democrat leader Gene Wu said, quote, we're prepared to bring this battle back to Texas under the right conditions and to take this fight to the courts. Now, Democrats are relying on the courts and other blue states to offset Republican gains. Senators are calling to investigate Meta over its chatbot conversations. A report indicated its ability to have inappropriate talks with children. NTD's Melina Weitzkup has more.
Senators Josh Hawley and Marsha Blackburn want to launch an investigation into Meta. This after news outlet Reuters reported that the company's chatbots were able to engage a child in conversations that are romantic or sensual and generate incorrect medical information. This was found in an internal document reviewed by Reuters. Meta has confirmed the document's authenticity, and a spokesperson said the examples and notes in question are erroneous and inconsistent with our policies and have been removed. Senator Josh Hawley called for an immediate investigation, writing, so only after Meta got caught did it retract portions of its company docket that deemed it permissible for chatbots to flirt and engage in romantic roleplay with children. Senator Blackburn has long called attention to the issue.
Meta's platforms are still dangerous for minors, and the people leading the company know it. On Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, AI chatbots have engaged in romantic fantasies with underage users, even carrying on explicit discussions of sexual acts with children.
The senator says the incident is the latest example for why Congress needs to pass the Kids Online Safety Act, a bill she's pushed for years, but has stalled in the House. The issue is bipartisan. Democrat Senator Ron Wyden agreed with his Republican colleagues and said Meta and Zuckerberg should be held fully responsible for any harm these bots cause. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weiskup, NTD News.
A Hong Kong court delayed a national security trial hearing for media mogul Jimmy Lai over health concerns. Lai's hearing today was delayed after the court heard about the 77-year-old's health conditions. His attorneys say he had been experiencing heart palpitations. The session was adjourned until Monday. Lai founded the now-shuttered pro-democracy newspaper Apple Daily. His outspoken criticism of the Chinese Communist regime and his support for democracy made him a target of authorities. They accused Lai of colluding with foreign forces and sedition. He has remained in prison since 2020. That was when Beijing imposed the national security law on Hong Kong, bypassing the city's legislature. This law criminalized what the CCP defines as secession, subversion, and terrorism and collusion with foreign forces, with penalties including life imprisonment. Lai has pleaded not guilty to all charges. President Donald Trump said he would see what he could do to save or help Jimmy Lai. He has said he would raise Lai's case as a part of negotiations with China over trade and tariffs. Here's what he said during an interview with Fox News' radio Brian Kilmeade yesterday. Take a listen.
I just got to ask you about Jimmy Lai. He's a self-made billionaire, Hong Kong, friend of the West, and he was taken when Hong Kong was taken by the Chinese government. So your thoughts, because you're going to be meeting President Xi, and he could do that just by one finger.
I didn't say 100% I'd save him. I said 100% I'm going to be bringing it up, and I've already brought it up, and I'm going to do everything I can to save him. I'm going to do everything. You know, he's a respected guy. He's a good guy. I mean, you could also understand President Xi would not be exactly thrilled by doing it. It was, you know, it was a very nasty period of time in the history of China. I mean, it was a very nasty period of time. With all of that being said, his name has already entered the circle of things that we're talking about, and we'll see what we can do.
China's economy last month showed weakness across the board, including in consumer activities, factory production, and investment. As Chinese consumers tighten their belts, luxury hotels across the country are finding new ways to stay afloat, hawking food on the streets outside. According to Chinese social media and news sites, at least 15 high-end hotels across China started hawking food outside in recent weeks. Beiyuan Grand in Beijing joined them in late July. The hotel is known for its gourmet restaurants and lavish banquet halls. But in the past few months, its private dining room use has fallen from full to about 1/3, and the check average per head is down nearly 50%. The hotel sales director says hawking food at least is better than the average caterer, but still not enough to offset the fall in business indoors. Coming up just hours before the summit between President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin, Putin's envoy met a bear in Alaska. We'll tell you more about it after the break.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, please listen closely. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. It's a rate lock for your life insurance that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. Many policies you see don't have one, but you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. This plan was designed for people on a fixed income with coverage options that start at $9.95 a month. That's less than 35 cents a day. Your rate is locked in for life. Coverage can never be canceled, and your acceptance is guaranteed. You cannot be turned down because of your health. See for yourself. Call for an information kit and gift. Both are free with no obligation.
Call 1-800-624-6556 for your free information and your free gift. That's 1-800-624-6556. 1-800-624-6556. Call now.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was blind, but now I see.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Abused youth often feel safer on the street. Now, more than ever, that's the most dangerous place of all. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming, and no young person is ever turned away. Please call or go online now with your gift of $19 a month to help a young person. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Your gift will show them they're loved. Homeless young people are afraid and alone with nowhere else to turn.
You want to know that there's somewhere you can go that's safe. So the Covenant House did that for us.
Please call now with your gift of $19 a month. We'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. Please don't wait. Your gift is the lifeline a young person needs now. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org. Thank you for saving precious lives.
Just mere hours now before the summit between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin, Putin's envoy met a bear in Alaska. Special Envoy for Investment and Economic Cooperation, Kirill Dmitriev, posted a video of him with the bear on social media. This was while he was on his way to the summit. Dmitriev wrote in the caption, quote, "Hopefully, this is a good sign." Russia's national animal is the brown bear, by the way. Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin's plane also landed in Anchorage, Alaska. A sports event with players from over a dozen countries. Okay, moving on. A sports event with players from over a dozen countries only. They're all robots, and the 3-day-long World Humanoid Robot Games kicked off in Beijing today. Robots competed in sports such as soccer, track and field, and table tennis. There are also robot-specific challenges from sorting medicines and handling materials to cleaning services. There are over 200 teams from 16 countries, including the US, Germany, and Brazil. 192 teams represent universities, and 88 teams represent private enterprises. But it seems some robots have yet to master their discipline. During one soccer match, 4 robots crashed into each other and fell. In a running event, one robot suddenly collapsed while running at full speed. Organizers said the games provide valuable data collection opportunities for developing robots for practical applications such as factory work. And coming up, this one-on-one meeting with Putin will now be a 3-on-1 meeting. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff will join President Trump. That's according to Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, who spoke to the press traveling with the president. It's not yet known who will join on the Russian side.
Is deep-sea fish oil really healthy? Due to pollution in the oceans, most fish contain heavy metal elements and radioactive substances. That's why it's so important to choose a pure source of omega-3. Puritan Green Vegetable Omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds, which are rich in nutrients and minerals. It effectively improves brain power and is beneficial to the heart's health. Puritan Green Vegetable Omega-3. Eat 2 a day and you'll feel brand new.
Hi, I'm Amy Grant. I was living with a rare heart condition, and the doctor said if I didn't take care of it, it would become catastrophic. A few months later, I had open heart surgery that saved my life, and I owe it to the research and life-saving medical breakthroughs developed by the American Heart Association. Like so many women, I pushed through no matter what. But I've learned you have to take care of yourself in order to take care of other people.
I had a pretty normal mom life. Everything was pretty good, and it was a very happy life. I was given the diagnosis that I had peripartum cardiomyopathy, which is basically a pregnancy-induced heart failure. They told me my only chance was a heart transplant.
And the American Heart Association helped make that possible. Their research helped save me.
Please call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough, get the next person trained in CPR,